to GBC whenever they need scriptural evidences. Other than that, Prabhu is a trainer, a teacher of all kinds of courses at Bhaktivedanta Manor via School of Bhakti. He has been a advisor to managing director and temple president of Bhaktivedanta Manor for over a decade. Also is in the leadership team of the Avanti School Trusts. These are some of his glorious services so far he has done. I'll hand over to Kartik Chandra Prabhu, and maybe all others can kindly encourage him by 3 times loudly saying Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Over to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the introduction. Can you all hear me okay? Is
Yes,
my
we
voice
can.
clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I look forward to spending the next 6 weeks with you all and discuss the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. So before we start, I will just say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 3 times. If we have to call and repeat the entire prayer, it doesn't, on a Zoom call, it doesn't really work. So we'll just all together say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I shall now share my screen. Please let me know if you can see it, when you are able to see it. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see. Yes.
Okay. All right. Before we start, some people are in the waiting room. What do I do? You can see there's about 6.
If you go to participants, you will see an option of admit all.
Okay, found it. Yeah. So when we endeavor on something which is life transforming, for example, if we get into education, we get into a new job, we get into a new seva or service, anything that is going to be affecting our life, you want to make sure that it is done with great seriousness. And I think 2 things that we as devotees have to develop is honesty and seriousness. And the honesty and seriousness will take us a long way. So since this session and the next 5 sessions are going to be life-changing, truly, I would like you all to take this seriously. And one of the external ways in which you could take it seriously is by paying attention. And since this is a Zoom call, you might be tempted to continue working in the background, doing your cooking or doing whatever other activities you might have, and just let this course play in the background. Please understand that by putting Srimad Bhagavatam in the background of your life, you will not experience the transformation. So I wanted to have a camera on policy for the course. But then I thought I don't want to force it on anyone. But if you can keep your camera on, it will help you and help me to know that you are serious and you are 100% focused. Without having the right focus, you will not have the right effect. So I request you all to keep your cameras on. Raise your hand if you have any questions, or you can put the questions down in the chat. I will pause at certain points and I'll ask if anyone has any questions. Please keep questions absolutely relevant to the discussion. And if you have any comments, comments are also welcome. If you have any corrections, they are also welcome. But please do it in the spirit of helping each other. And the last thing I want to say before we get into this endeavor is that, like with every endeavor, the full results are only achieved if we see through whatever endeavor we have started, if we bring it to a completion. Similarly, you are available today and you attend, and next week you are not available and you want to catch up on, the recording. It might be okay, but it is always important that you attend in person when everyone else attends. This collective presence of conscious minds focusing on the same outcome has miraculous effect. And hence, please make every endeavor not to take a break, unless it's a life and death situation. And that reminds me that if you look at this particular beautiful painting in front of you, you see Shukdev Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. And there are, by different accounts, 80,000 or 88,000 sages who have gathered. And some sages are millions of years old. And there are sages who are as old as 7 kalpas. 1 kalpa is 8.64 billion years. Billion, not million. So there are sages who are 7 kalpas old. And with those sages, the Bhagavatam is being spoken. And because there's a fear that some of these elderly sages may even pass away, so Yamraj is personally called and said, okay, Yamraj, you come and attend this Bhagavad Katha. As long as you are here, there will be no possibility of anyone dying. And hence there will be no interruptions. Such is the mood, such is the intent, and such is the sincerity and seriousness of attending this Katha of the Lord. So we shall start as they traditionally start. Now, I actually did this Srimad Bhagavatam overview session first at the manor, and it was done in the year 2015. So that's 10 years back. And I will be going through this session today with you. I've made some additions, etc. But broadly, the session is similar. to what was done then. And the tradition says, before one endeavors on a certain path, one must have the understanding of the importance or the why of doing something. And the Bhagavatam Mahatmya, the Mahatmya talks about why. Why are we endeavoring to study Bhagavatam? So if you're sitting through and if you have a notebook and a pen with you, it will really help. Please go and grab a notebook and a pen. And you have less of an excuse because you are in your own homes. So we shall start with the Mahatmya today. Before I start, I just want to I also want to sip of half a glass of water. So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to go away and grab a notebook and a pen. If possible, please get a notebook which is going to be exclusively used for these sessions. So I'll give you about 3 minutes. You can go away and get your notebook. And I'll be back in about 3 minutes. All right. Here we are back. I can see there's about 6 devotees who have their cameras on. It'll be nice to have others' cameras on as well. Right, so Srimad Bhagavatam, first and foremost, should not be approached with a desire for simply knowing. And the reason is this. In the Sushruta Samhita it says, Yatha kharashchandana bharavahi. That a donkey, kharaha, chandana bharavahi. A donkey may be carrying tons and tons of sandalwood on his back. Does he understand that he has a precious sandalwood on his back? Bharasya vetta natu chandanasya. No. Bharasya vetta. He understands that I have some load on my back. Natu chandanasya. He doesn't understand that he has chandan on his back. So chandan means sandalwood. Sandalwood is so precious. If you buy a kilo of sandalwood, it will be almost equivalent to price of gold. So a donkey who carries so much sandalwood, he's carrying it, but for him, it's simply a load. He does not have any understanding of the preciousness of the load that he's carrying. Similarly, if we study Bhagavatam, if we study any scripture, or we study many scriptures, evam hi shastrani bahuni aditya. Similarly, somebody who studies many scriptures, bahuni aditya. Aditya means to study, having studied. Bahuni, many. Shastrani, one may have studied many scriptures. But if the true purport of these scriptures is not understood, cha artheshu mudha, if one is foolish about the artha, the meaning of these scriptures, kharavad vahanti, then one is simply like a donkey. He has read so much, he has heard so much, she has memorized so much, she can speak so much eloquently. She does not understand the purport of the Shastra. He does not understand the purport of the Shastra. Then they're simply living the life of a donkey. And this is possibly true for so many. Even devotees who have been around for so many years, they are only carrying Krishna consciousness as a burden because they haven't realized how precious the gift they have got, the matchless gift. So as we enter Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to scope out what is this Srimad Bhagavatam? What is the depth of this Bhagavatam? So estimating the task at hand, in the Bhavartha Deepika, Sridhar Swami, who is one of the first commentators of Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, estimating the Srimad Bhagavatam and the attempt to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, Kvaham mandamatihi. Who am I to approach Bhagavatam? I am mandamatihi. I am simply a fool. Somebody who is slow intellectually. Manda means slow. Mati means intellectually. Mati also means consciousness. Who has dull consciousness. Kvedam. And what is this Bhagavatam? What is the task in front of me? To understand Bhagavatam. Manthanam kshiravaridhe. It is like somebody asking me to do manthan. Manthana means churning of kshiravaridhe, of the ocean of milk. we might have experienced oceans and seas in our lives. I once went on a cruise, and it was a very short cruise. In fact, more recently, I went to New Mayapur, and on the way back and on the way to New Mayapur, we took the ferry. And at one point on the way back, the ferry was wobbly. And I looked out and there were huge waves, and it wasn't even the sea. The ocean of milk is infinite, and the waves are huge. And to be able to do the manthan, the churning of the ocean of milk, how big a task that is. Kim tatra. In doing that task of churning the ocean of milk, what is the scope? Kim tatra. Paramanurvai. What is the scope if you ask a subatomic particle, not even an atom, not even anu, paramanu, a subatomic particle smaller than a grain? Please go ahead, Mr. Sesame seed or mustard seed, and churn the ocean of milk. It's like an impossible task. Even when the demons and the demigods wanted to churn the milky ocean with the Mandara mountain, whose height is so high that at the top of that mountain, Brahma sits in his holiday apartment. It's a huge mountain. It's going through different lokas, that huge. Yatra Majjati Mandara. Even the Mandara mountain, the ocean of milk is so deep. Even a Mandara mountain, Majjati, completely submerges, drowns. So where a Mandara mountain can drown while trying to churn this ocean, what is this subatomic particle going to be able to achieve? This is the sense with which Sridhar Swami, who is himself a great Vaishnava of the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, Rudra Vaishnava Sampradaya, he approaches Srimad Bhagavatam, comparing Srimad Bhagavatam to a huge ocean of milk, and comparing himself to a subatomic particle. So what to speak of us when we approach the Srimad Bhagavatam? So then somebody might say, well, in that case, please refund my money back. I'm not going to go ahead with this course. It seems too much already. It seems like an infinite, I am infinitesimal and Bhagavatam is infinite. So there's no possibility of me achieving anything here. But then we have someone that we can turn to. And Sridhar Swami himself, the previous verse was verse number 5. The next verse in his commentary is verse number 6. He says, very famous, many people sing this. Mukam karoti vachalam. Mukam. Mukam is one who is dumb, who cannot speak. Karoti vachalam. Vachalam means one who speaks a lot. You have to tell that person, okay, enough, stop talking. Pangum. Pangum means one who is unable to even take one step without support. Not even one step without support, without a stick or without somebody's support. Pangum langayate girim. Langayate, he crosses over a mountain. Where dumb becomes speaking eloquently, he's able to speak eloquently. Where a lame person can cross mountains, how is this possible? Yat kripa tamaham vande. only by His mercy, only by His grace. Whose grace? Whose mercy? Paramananda Madhavam. By the Supreme Lord Krishna's grace can one approach. And we see in the case of the Mandara mountain, when the Mandara mountain was submerging in the ocean of milk, who came to the rescue? Two personalities. One was the tortoise, Kurmadev, who is also Krishna. And still the Mandara mountain was wobbly because it had a base, but it did not have something to hold it on the top. So the Lord himself in his four-handed form sat on the top of the mountain, and the Lord himself became the base of the mountain and stabilized the mountain by becoming Kurma, the tortoise. So we see that unless the Lord gives us entry, mercy, grace, it's not possible. But then one might ask, how do I approach the Lord asking for His grace? Lord's grace can only be achieved by the grace of the devotees. So the devotees are more merciful than the Lord himself directly. And what is this Bhagavatam? How is Bhagavatam? So somebody might say, well, you are comparing, Sridhar Swami compares Bhagavatam with an ocean of milk, but isn't Bhagavatam just a few volumes of books? It's finite. Ocean of milk may be infinite. Bhagavatam is very finite. So why is it compared to an ocean of milk, which is infinite? Mahaprabhu answers, Krishna Tulla Bhagavad Vibhu Sarvashray Prati Shloke Prati Akhare Nana Artha Koi. This Bhagavad is Krishna Tulla. Krishna Tulla means equal to Krishna. Krishna Tulla Bhagavata Vibhu Sarvashray. So Vibhu means infinite, and Krishna is infinite. And Krishna is the shelter of everyone, so is Bhagavad. Sarvashray. How is it infinite? Can somebody prove it? Yes, of course. Prati shloke prati akhare nana artha koi. Every verse, in fact, not only every verse, every syllable of every verse gives infinite number of meanings, Mahaprabhu says. And how do we understand? If another challenge is, if you say, Prabhu, there are infinite meanings, how do we understand? You see, it is similar to asking if two lovers are there, a boy and a girl, they are in deep love with each other. Now, as an external person, if you want to understand the mind of the girl or the mind of the boy, you might really struggle because there's only so much you can understand from the external features of a person. If the person is frowning, you might say, oh, he's unhappy. Or if she's having her eyes big, wide, you might say, oh, she's angry. But there's only so much you can understand. If you really wish to understand, you should see the interaction between the two. How sometimes they simply look at each other and they understand each other. It is still very mundane. But this example is necessary to understand how one can understand Bhagavatam. How one can understand Bhagavatam? Bhagavatam is a lover's book. Amahena jebakya batul hoy. Batul means one who is for lack of a better word, I'll say one who has become mad, one who is crazy. Or let me use a better word, one who is deeply love struck. Ehi drishte bhagvatera artha janai. Ehi drishte, in that way, that is how you see, that is how you learn Bhagavatam artha, the meaning of Bhagavatam. So Mahaprabhu says if one wants to really relish Bhagavatam, he or she has to become love struck. It's a lover's book. If you are not a lover, you have no entry into this literature. Then you might say, oh, then how do I enter? You enter by the grace of devotees who are lovers and the previous acharyas. And Bhagavatam, if you want to learn how to love God or Krishna, then study Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says. And Bhagavatam will teach us how to love Krishna. A lover of God will teach us how to understand Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam in turn will teach us how to love God, how to see Krishna, in fact, how to realize Krishna. In the first canto, first chapter, verse number 2, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, then immediately you will realize God. Not after prolonged effort, immediately. You might say, well, I've been reading Bhagavatam for the last 10 years. I don't think I've realized God. Well, you have realized God. But depending on our own conditionings, that revelation sits there deep within our heart, forced and hidden by external conditioning. And just like if you take a seed of an oak tree and you plant it for days, for months, sometimes for years, you don't see anything, nothing. You might in fact think that, okay, well, this is just barren ground. I sow a seed and nothing has come out. But the oak tree has the potency. I was in Japan and a Zen master, I was talking to him and I asked him, what is the most precious material object that you possess? I was just curious what he might say. And he went to his room and he said, well, I can give this to you. I said, no, I don't want it. I'm just asking you a question. He said, no, keep it. He gave me a seed. It was a very curious looking seed. It was a lotus seed. Do you know what's special about a lotus seed? You can take a lotus seed, which is 1,000 years old, and you can sow it, and the lotus will come. For 1,000 years, the seed has the memory of becoming a lotus. The seed has the realization hidden within it. Similarly, this Bhagavatam is so powerful. When we were small, my grandfather would read Bhagavatam every day, and he would tell us children, and also children in the neighborhood, I'll come and when you come and see me, I'll give you sweets. And he would buy the sweets from a local shop, and these sweets were tamarind, which was mixed with some rock salt and jaggery. It was handmade. I mean, those sweets are better than any chocolate that you would have tasted. So he used to have these little sweet bowls. They are irresistibly tasty. And he would tell the children, come, after I finish my reading of the Bhagavatam, form a queue. All you have to do is pay obeisances to this Bhagavatam, open it, and close it. And I'll give you a sweet. Because he said, simply by opening and closing this book, it has the potency to draw you towards it and ultimately transform your heart when you read and apply what it says. Such is the potency of Bhagavatam. And perhaps whatever insignificant interest or attraction I developed for Srimad Bhagavatam is the result of those countless numbers of times that I simply opened and shut the Bhagavatam. That too, for a little sweet. So when Prabhupada says, if you read Bhagavatam, then you immediately you will realize God. Do not doubt. The seed, like the lotus seed, is already implanted the moment you approach this literature, for it is non-different from Krishna himself. So how do we study Bhagavatam? I thought at least for the first session and for these first few slides, I'll try and make some kind of an acronym. I'm actually not in the business of making acronyms. In fact, I don't like acronyms. But anyway, I thought I would try to string something together forcibly. Acronyms, those who make acronyms, they just invent. They just, for lack of a better word, speculate and string together a few concepts or words that become an acronym. However, it was very easy for me because when I read, I could find precisely what words I could take for the acronym. So how to study Bhagavatam? What is the prerequisite? What is the process? What product, what is the outcome that we can expect to achieve? Srila Prabhupada gives us essential advice. First, he says, the qualification, in fact, the first qualification the eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. So and he writes this in the second chapter, right at the beginning of Bhagavatam. Second chapter of the first canto. So one must cultivate eagerness. Even if you're not eager, pretend to be eager, and you will develop eagerness. Then he says, Srimad Bhagavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere and serious person can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian juice through the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami or his bona fide representative. So one has to develop the quality of being sincere and serious. Some of us might think, well, it means the same thing, sincere and serious. It certainly, at first glance, sounds like it's the same thing, but it's not. Somebody can be sincere, but not serious. Somebody can be serious, but not sincere. I once met a man who came for Janmashtami at the manor, and he was so, his eyes were wet when he was looking at the Supreme Lord with folded hands. It was difficult for him to move through the queue because he just was glued to the deities. And as he moved out, on his way out, I couldn't resist myself, but I approached him and said, Prabhu, what's your name? He gave me his name. He's a Gujarati guy from Milton Keynes or somewhere not too far from the manor. And I asked him, Prabhu, do you come to the manor? I've never seen you before. Maybe you come, but it's on a different day. I'm here over the weekends. And he said, no, I've been coming for the past 30 years. I said, really? He said, yes. I come every Janmashtami, once a year. He's a young man, as in maybe in his 50s, not that young, but not old. He certainly could come if he wanted, perhaps once, twice, thrice a week. But when he came, he said, he did full Nirjala, he attended the morning program and then the class, and he did full Nirjala, he did service in the tents, and then he broke his fast at midnight. And then he asked me in the conversation, he had a bad habit that he wanted to get over. And I asked him what, and he said he was a chain smoker and an alcoholic. So there you go. When he came, he was really serious, but he wasn't sincere about coming every single day. There was no commitment. So one has to become sincere. Krishna wants both. Sincerity means you remain serious at every engagement, and you do it over and over again, all throughout your life. That's sincerity. Sincerity means you repeat and repeat and repeat. And every time you repeat, you do it seriously. And then you can at once enjoy the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada says, it's important that Bhagavatam is not heard from Google Guru or from YouTube. In YouTube, it's become like, people are speaking. Everyone is speaking. What are they speaking? What is their realization? What is their connection to Krishna? Are they even bona fide? It's like verbal diarrhea. When you have diarrhea, you have an irresistible urge to evacuate, to open your bowels. Irresistible urge, unstoppable. It's like that. People speak. On whose authority? On what basis? What is your realization and what is your connection with Krishna? And then I heard that there is this YouTube shorts or shorts, I don't know, something, people just keep swiping up, down. What a waste of time. You know what? I'll give you something which is more valuable. Cut your YouTube time to 0 and substitute it with Srimad Bhagavatam by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The book form. You'll see the difference. Yes, Dharamvirji, you have a question?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Out of my ignorance, just wanted to clarify. The question is, how about sometimes we miss the live program, or sometimes we feel like listening to certain devotees from ISKCON as well, and going on YouTube platform to use them, although there is chance of getting distracted, as you kindly said. Could you please clarify on that?
Use your God-given intelligence. That's all I can say. I mean, I am watching YouTube sometimes if there is, like, there was a nice program in Vrindavan and somebody sent me the link and I watched it, and as soon as the program was finishing, I just had such a irresistible urge to, when will I close down YouTube to go back to my reading and chanting? So if you developed a habit to not make YouTube as your top priority in life, then I think you'll be fine. But use your own intelligence. The worst is I find devotees tell me, oh, I have to do some time pass, or I have to feel I'm under too much, I'm doing too many services, and I need a little break. And so I go to YouTube for a break. It's like saying after working very hard and taking a shower in the Ganga, take a break by rolling in the gutters. Maybe I might sound extremely negative, but please understand the purpose of what I'm saying, rather than taking the literal words. There's nothing wrong inherently with YouTube. Krishna says nothing wrong with sex life. He says, Dharma viruddha kamosmi. I am calm, I am sex life, which is the most, the whole world, Srila Prabhupada says, is moving around because of sex life. Sexual attraction between two beasts and birds and humans is what is driving the whole world. Krishna says that's fine, as long as it is not dharma aviruddha. YouTube is fine, as long as it's not dharma aviruddha. So we'll move on.
Prabhuji, can I ask one more question regarding the previous point about sincerity? In your class about 1 year ago, I noted, and you kindly said that sincerity means doing something from your heart. Whatever you do, whatever service you do, doing it from your heart. You kindly said that. Could you please little bit try to elaborate, on this point, sincerity in connection with seriousness, although you very kindly gave the example of a devotee from Milton Keynes.
Yes, I will just stick to the word sincerity. And sincerity only comes when one has applied one's heart. In Sanskrit, there's a beautiful word, shraddha, and everyone calls it faith. Well, it's a lot more than faith, the word itself. The word is composed of two parts, Shrad and Dha. In fact, you might wonder what words is Prabhupada translating as serious or sincere. Most of the times he's translating the words Shraddha or Shraddhadhana as serious or sincere, especially sincere. And that's because Shraddha means, Shrad comes from the root Rid, the English word heart, H-R-T, 3 sound bites in heart is the same 3 sound bites in Sanskrit, Rit, Rit. So Rit, so which means heart. So Shrad comes from Rid or heart, and Dha means to put or to apply. So Shraddha literally means to apply your heart, put your heart in something. One is only serious or sincere in both of these cases. The application is that one's heart is fully applied. If you're doing it as a chore, if you're doing it as a external activity, it lacks the application of the heart, Shraddha. Very simple. Like, for example, and I'll give you an example and then we'll move on. If a little boy is unwell and admitted to the hospital, the nurse looks after the boy and she does everything very nicely. She's administering the medicines, she's checking the temperature, she's coming as soon as the bell rings. She's doing everything very nicely. But she's not constantly with the boy. Her heart is not with the boy. She does it as a matter of duty. But when the boy is discharged and he's still recovering, he goes home and he's with his mother. The mother is also looking after the boy. She's administering the medicine, checking the temperature, helping with the meals. And instead of having a bell, she is constantly sitting next to the boy. That is sincerity. That is the seriousness. That's where her heart is. The difference between the two is only of consistency in time. Sincere means one does it over and over again, time and time again, time and time again. Seriousness is when one puts their heart fully. So, hope that clears. So this Bhagavatam has to be exactly received from the right source. Prabhupada uses the words exactly received. 2 words, exactly, which means accurately, not whimsically, not speculatively, not approximately, but exactly. If you say, give me exactly 21 milliliters, you'll take a little bucker with, if you ever did your chemistry class in your A levels, you have to really measure with a pipette the exact 21 ml. I remember we were testing the exothermic property of one of the chemicals. And the professor said, we should just put 21 ml in the beaker, which already had one liquid. And instead of 21, my lab partner, she put approximately 21, which is she put about 26 or 28 ml. And there was a fire and the beaker just blasted. It was like a little mini bomb blast because it was an exothermic reaction. So exactly received, not more, not less. From whom? From the right source. From one who is in parampara. And then he says, while you want to exactly receive it, even the sequence of receiving is really important. You don't start with the 10th canto just because you love Krishna. Well, the reality is you only think you love Krishna. You know nothing about Krishna. You just think like a sentimentalist. Oh, I love Krishna. Prabhupada says the process is one should conclude, therefore, that the serious student of the rasa should receive the message of Bhagavatam in the chain of disciplic succession from Sri Shukadev Goswami, who describes the Bhagavatam from its very beginning, and not whimsically to satisfy the mundaner who has very little knowledge in transcendental science. Just like I cannot possibly teach you integration and derivatives before teaching you what differential equations mean, before teaching you what the negative timeline and the positive timelines mean and what algebra is, before teaching you what basic math is, I cannot directly enter the higher topics. Similarly, one should not and cannot possibly comprehend the 10th canto before the 9th, and before the 9th before the 8th, and so on and so forth. One cannot comprehend even the 2nd canto before the 1st. So it has to be done from its very beginning and not whimsically. Now, even where we attempt to do this, understanding and reading of Bhagavatam, we might fail because we just do not get the point. The language of the Bhagavatam is Samadhi Bhasha, which means, and you might know already, that Narad Muni appeared in front of Vyasadeva, while Vyasadeva felt really dejected, not knowing why he feels so empty within his heart, even after having compiled the 4 Vedas from one. He dissected the one Veda and made it into 4. Even after composing the Puranas, extracting the Upanishads from the Vedas, and authoring the Mahabharata, he was still feeling so empty. And then Narad Muni, his guru, mercifully appears on the scene and tells him, it's only because you have not sufficiently described the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The emphasis there is on sufficiently, because he had described the glories of Krishna in the Mahabharata. In fact, the Bhagavad Gita is in Mahabharata. He had described Vishnu and Krishna and Narayan's glories in other Puranas, but not sufficiently, not completely, not exclusively described the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until he composed the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when he composed the Srimad Bhagavatam completely, sufficiently, exclusively speaks about Krishna and Krishna's incarnations and Krishna's devotees. That's all Srimad Bhagavatam is. But then how was he to compose a literature like that? So Narad Muni told him, go to the bank of the Ganga and meditate. And in that meditation appeared the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So the language that he used was Samadhi Bhasha. Samadhi means one who is absorbed, having lost all external sense. So in that absorption, he spoke these words, which even he perhaps would not have comprehended. Listen carefully. Even he perhaps wouldn't have comprehended if they were spoken consciously. He spoke them in trance, in samadhi. That is why there is a verse which came from the mouth of Lord Jagannath, and there's a long pastime which I will not go into. But the verse says, Lord Shiva, actually there are two parts to the story. One says that it was Lord Shiva who said it. And Lord Shiva, apparently in Varanasi, he tells Sridhar Swami, he says, this Bhagavatam, Aham Vedmi, I know Bhagavatam. Shuko Veti, Shukdev Goswami knows Bhagavatam. Vyaso Veti na Veti va. Vyasdev may know or may not know. So somebody might think, oh, what are you talking? Vyasdev is the compiler. He's the one who composed or compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. How can he not know? Well, he did it in samadhi, in trance. So then how do we enter something which is a trance literature or a transcendental message, transcendental literature? How can we enter a transcendental message when we are not transcendental? We approach those who are transcendental, and those who are the transcendental devotees of the Lord translate the transcendental message into a language that we can comprehend. So within the past 500 years, many erudite scholars and acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Vallabhacharya, and many other distinguished scholars, even after the time of Lord Chaitanya, made elaborate commentaries on the Bhagavatam. And the serious student would do well to attempt to go through them. Why? To better relish the transcendental messages. Where did Prabhupada say this? Right at the very beginning. First canto, first chapter, first verse, purport. So we have to take. In fact, Srila Prabhupada says they would do well to attempt to go through. So it's important that we take shelter of these commentaries. Now, it's another thing that these commentaries are all in Sanskrit. And there's another barrier there that we may not be able to comprehend Sanskrit. And of course, then the simple solution is we should learn Sanskrit. The other barrier there is that we don't have the right teachers for Sanskrit and we don't have the time. And we probably past the age of being able to learn a language. We have no interest, etc., etc. So what do? We approach those devotees who either have the comprehension or at least a thorough understanding of Srila Prabhupada's purports. Whether they know Sanskrit or not is only an incidental thing. Sanskrit is not going to save you. Bengali is not going to save you. There are so many Bengalis who've not even heard of Chaitanya Charitamrita. There are so many Bengali devotees who do not read Chaitanya Charitamrita. There are so many Sanskritists who have no attraction for Bhagavad Gita. Forget Bhagavatam. So it's just a language. It's a useless language if it's not applied in the service of the Lord. Just like anything else, it's pretty useless if it's not directly applied in the service of the Lord. He then says, if you do all of the above, this Srimad Bhagavatam will gradually elevate the unbiased reader. And the emphasis there on being unbiased. The unbiased reader to the highest perfectional stage of transcendence. Again, this is in the very first purport of Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. So if you look at all the words that I had underlined, in essence, to get the essence, the prerequisite is to be eager, to be sincere, and to be serious. Now, somebody may ask a really curiously confusing and puzzling question, which is, how do I become serious? How do I become eager? How do I become sincere? Well, thank God they don't ask, how do I eat? How do I walk? How do I talk? Because these are inherent in a person. How do I breathe? Nobody asks. You could use some external help to become sincere, but really it's a inner quality that one just needs to cultivate. In any of these, the biggest hindrance is our mind and intelligence. Our intelligence says, oh no, you have more important things to do in life. You have to run here and do this, and you have to run these errands, and you have to do these services, and you have to do this thing for this devotee and this thing for your family. But guess what? When the time of death comes, nothing and no one shall be with you except what you have invested, spiritually invested in yourself and karmically invested in yourself. You will take the garbage with you that you are collecting here, and you will take the wonderful things, the jewels that you're collecting here. That's it. So you better have a stark realization that there isn't much. I mean, so many of us spend so many countless hours discussing, thinking, arguing about matters which actually are of little to no consequence in our eternal lives. I asked you to fill the gas in my car. You didn't do it. Now let's pick a fight for that for the next 5 days. Let's be upset with each other. Let's have verbal arrows. Depending on who knows how to sharpen the arrows better, they will speak sharper and sharper words. Let's taunt and torture each other. That's what husband and wife many times do. I mean, it's just not needed. It's only a silly petrol. Yeah, it wasn't done. And yes, because we are all conditioned, we will spurt out, we will blast like a volcano. But the important thing is, we should learn the art is not to just keep those emotions in the heart, but to vent it out and then to cap it. Just like when you put something to boil, as soon as it boils, you turn the fire down and you put a lid on top. So the art is, it is said by Jiva Goswami, the art is, until these emotions are there, they exist, you might have to let them out, but the art is to, when do you put the lid on and say, okay, finished, let's move on. Most of us find it difficult to move on because we're just so much engrossed in so much garbage. We'll take all that garbage. So don't develop the eagerness. That's fine. It's absolutely fine. Don't be sincere. Don't be serious. Live a wasteful life. Sorry, I'm not trying to be negative. It's a reality. Very few people speak like this, but I don't think I have anything to lose to say this, because I'm repeating what Prabhupada is saying. So it's important that we become eager, sincere, and serious. Srila Prabhupada said, just give this one life. Just give this one life to Krishna. That's all it takes. You've given so many countless lives to Maya. And those who are not sincere, when they see somebody who is sincere or serious or eager, they might think he is or she is too much, but they might make fun of them, or they might not be able to understand them. That's all right. We're not doing it for others. It's okay. And then the process, exactly received. I see so many devotees, and it breaks my heart to see so many devotees quoting, exploring, associating, and it's very difficult for me to say this, but feeling inspired by unscrupulous people on the internet, leaving completely Srila Prabhupada. I mean, I say completely, they can't leave Srila Prabhupada because Srila Prabhupada is the one who's given them the temples, who's given them the devotees, who's given them the prasadam, who's given them the association. So we'll continue to exploit Prabhupada's goodness, but secretly we'll take inspiration from these other sources. It's something that we need to work on. Exactly received from the right source, from Srila Prabhupada's books, from the previous acharyas who are within the Gaudiya Sampradaya or within the Vaishnava Sampradayas at least, and not whimsically. We are sometimes reading things. Somebody approached me recently and said, which version of Ujjwala Neelamani would you recommend? The one that was translated by Bhanu Maharaj, or the one that was written by Gaudiya Math, or the one that was published by some PhD student in the US? And I said, well, before I answer your question, can you tell me if you have read Nectar of Devotion? They said, well, I mean, yeah, I read it, but couldn't understand most of it. And I said, well, if you read it 100 times, then you come to me, I'll tell you which version of Ujjwala Neelamani is the best. Nectar of Devotion is based on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Rupa Goswami, after compiling the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is a vast literature, Jeev Goswami commented on it. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commented on it. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, for the benefit of people like us who probably won't have a clue about what Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu speaks on, composed Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. Bindu means a drop of the Sindhu. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. And Rupa Goswami himself, he felt that he hadn't quite covered the Sakhis, the Madhurya Ras, sufficient enough. So to expand on the Madhurya Ras and expand on the different, interactions between Radharani and Krishna and the Sakhis, he composed Ujjwala Neelamani. And we want to read Ujjwala Neelamani when we haven't even touched the nectar of devotion. We haven't even able to understand Bhagavad Gita. Actually, just to be clear, I'm not suggesting one should not read Ujjwala Neelamani. Actually, very interestingly, I'm not suggesting that. But what I am saying is the point that Prabhupada makes, exactly received, not whimsically. Not whimsically. And take shelter of the commentaries so that the understanding is in line with the previous acharyas, not inventive understanding. Lots of preaching today is really inventive, and that's good. I don't dislike it. It's good because it has a purpose to attract more souls to Krishna consciousness. And that's absolutely fine. When you come to the core, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, you have to part away with your inventiveness and take shelter of the previous acharyas. So the commentaries. And finally, this is the secret formula for one to be elevated in Krishna consciousness. If you think what I spoke so far is heavy, is strong, I can only beg for forgiveness. And if you feel uncomfortable, then please, you could log off. Don't feel offended by me, because that's not my intention to offend you. You could log off and forgive me. But I'm just repeating what Prabhupada said. And this is just setting the scene, because what we are going to attempt to do over the next now 5.5 sessions is to go through the Skanda Puran and the Padma Puran glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. But it was important to set the scene. And I hope the attendees are going to listen to these sessions in sequence and not out of sequence, because we will be going to a lot of sweet aspects of Bhagavatam. But those cannot be ventured on by someone who's not eager, who's not serious, who's not sincere, who's not attentive, who's listening to this in the background. Please switch it on. If you're cooking, please cook. At least do that 100%. If you're chanting, please just chant your rounds. Don't listen. But if you're listening, then please do just listen and take a notebook and write down. All right, I'll just pause if anyone has any questions or comments or corrections. And then I'll move on to the next part. I'll give about a 10-minute break after the 10 minutes, maybe too much for online session, 5-minute break after the Q&A, and then resume. The session goes on, I hope you know, the session goes on till 1 p.m. Okay, I'm opening up for any questions. You may raise your hand and I'll call your name. No questions? Okay. Is that right? No questions? Anyone? No one's got any comments?
Sorry, I have a question, please. Like Brahma Samhita is the only Samhita I heard, as far as I know, consciously.
Yeah.
You kindly mentioned Sura Rata Samhita. Could you
Shushruta
please?
Samhita. No, there are many Samhitas.
Okay.
There are thousands of Samhitas, thousands.
And
Was that your question?
a question is, like Brahma Samhita has Lord Brahma's prayer for Lord Krishna. What is Sura Samhita? Is it just instruction?
It's no, Shushruta Samhita is written by Shushruta, who is the author of Ayurveda. So just because I quoted it, it doesn't mean I want you to now go away and read it. You can read the Shushruta Samhita after you've read Prabhupada's books 100 times. Then you can go and read that if you want. It's really not needed. It's just this verse is quoted by other acharyas in the Vaishnava Sampradaya, so I've just quoted it. Any other questions? Anyone? Or comments?
Hey, Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment about when you set the context, how beautiful that was for us to be respectful of each other. Because I've been on many Zooms and there was such cluttering and rowing in background and people, you know, cooking and cluttering and stuff. So I think that was very useful. Wish all his Zoom would say the same, because it does this. People don't realize what an impact it causes to other people. Thank you.
However, I do want to see your face with a nice hat on.
I did put my face earlier on, but
Where's
then
your hat?
can't have my hat indoors.
Okay. She's always with a hat. If you
I
ever see
sometimes
her.
sleep with it. No, I'm
Oh
only
dear.
joking. I'm
Okay.
only joking. I'm only
Okay.
joking.
Raghav Chandra Prabhu, you next.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare.
Thank you so much for the enlightening session. So, Prabhu, on the prerequisites, which is the eagerness, sincerity, and being serious, I mean, the example that you gave for the as a boy being taken care by a nurse at hospital, and the same boy being taken care at home by his mother. That's actually that example makes it very clear about how we are, or how I am approaching Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is mostly doing it as a duty, like, okay, in this particular half an hour or this particular 1 hour, I am attending to the duty. And then outside that 1 hour, it's not in the mind. So, I mean, I understand it's a very, to go to the other side, to be on the other side, it does take a lot of, a lot of hard work, I believe, and a lot of mercy. But the process, the transition phase is, if you could give us some guidelines on transitioning from doing it as a duty to doing it, putting with all of our heart in it.
Yeah. Excellent question. I just want to thank you first for the question. Srimad Bhagavatam is non different from Krishna, and we will learn this when we do the first canto. So, by the way, the idea is not just to do this Mahatmya and that's it. In fact, the Mahatmya is going to prepare us for the first canto, then the second, then the third, then the. At the manner, I'm doing the 9th canto now. This is the 10th year that I'm doing it. So I do it every year, 1 canto a year. So this year is 9th, next year will be the 10th. And in 2 years' time, we'll finish the entire Bhagavatam. So you asked, what is that transition? How does it work? Well, it's a brilliant question. And it's actually answered by the Acharyas. And they make it so sweet and simple. They say just by 2 things, 2 words. You remember 2 words, and I'll make it easy in English rather than making it philosophical. Easy, directly applicable and practical. Number 1, attention. And number 2, appreciation. Even when you're reading Bhagavatam, if you can be only with Bhagavatam, attentively, fully, and you can appreciate even a line that you see there, that will create ruchi, that will generate the love. Slowly, steadily, the love will be generated. And this formula has worked for me. I wasn't always born with a liking for Srimad Bhagavatam. And in fact, even now, I'm not deeply attached to Bhagavatam. It's some attachment is there. Some superficial, insignificant attachment is there. But when you start attentively doing something and you develop appreciation for it, wow, this is so nice. This is so sweet. And you appreciate with your emotions. You be attentive with your mind and intelligence. All 3 when they work together. It's so quick. In weeks or in days, or maybe in 1 day, you'll feel hooked by Srimad Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam is Krishna, Krishna is a person, Bhagavatam is a person, Bhagavatam is conscious. You can actually talk to Bhagavatam. You can actually have a conversation with the book Bhagavatam. I'm speaking from experience. I'm not speaking theoretically. This is not theory. This is real. I'm not telling you this is how you make a cake. I have tasted the cake. So I'm speaking based on practical experience. When faith is brought along with practical experience, it will become trust. You'll have trust in Bhagavatam, not just some faith, which is very flimsy and can go away. It can evaporate. Faith can evaporate. But trust, because of your experience of Bhagavatam, oh, Bhagavatam has never, ever let me down. Sanatana Goswami's prayer on Bhagavatam is, Tvam eka sanghi, you are my only friend. He doesn't say, Bhagavatam, you are the only book. You are the best book. You are the best literature. He says, you are my only companion. You are my only friend. What is that? Bhagavatam is a person. How would you, like I call you Raghav Chandraji, you're my friend. You're my very close friend. It's not because you are some statue, because you're a person, you interact with me. And I love those interactions. I appreciate and love your company. So Sanatana Goswami calls Bhagavatam as his friend. And I think we want to become friends with Bhagavatam, not just how to read this book. If that's the approach, it'll take time. 2 simple words in simple English. Summary of what the Acharyas have said on how to develop taste or love for Srimad Bhagavatam. Attention with your mind and intelligence. Attention with your mind and intelligence, and appreciation with your emotion. And it'll take you days, or maybe hours, or maybe a minute to fall in love. I'm talking out of experience. Please do it.
Prabhu, that was pretty
Yeah, Prabhu.
infectious. That was just amazing. It was coming straight from your heart. And I just I want to paraphrase it. I think Sri Advaita Maharaj said something about, I don't know if it was a book that was being given to him. And he said, don't read it, show me. And that is exactly what you're saying. Is in my previous life, I was a great reader, and reading is when you actually imagine what the author has written, and that's beautifully put by you, and it was straight from your heart. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words. Dharmendra Prabhu. And then Rajesh.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, nice to see you. I was just saying that when you're actually reading the purport, sometimes there is some confusion setting in, and regardless of how many times you read the purport again, it's suddenly there's some sort of sense of a blocker in your mind. So how do you go about approaching it in a different way so that confusion you can sort of eradicate, if you know what I mean? Because that's what I'm finding when reading, let's say, the first couple of cantos, which is setting the scene, in essence.
Traditionally, Bhagavatam was never meant to be read alone. So Srila Prabhupada also started every morning, Srimad Bhagavatam, compulsory for all temple residents. And if you look at the history of ISKCON, or historically, if you look at ISKCON, all the grihasthas would also live at the temple or connected around the temple. So it was a pretty in-house kind of a movement as and when it started. And everyone, women, children, grandchildren, men, everyone was meant to be listening to Bhagavatam every single day, ask questions at the end of the class. And when they would come to listen to somebody speak, the expectation was that they would read the same verse in the purport because it was all pre-announced. I think the same setup is there even now. So I would like you to consider regularly attending Srimad Bhagavatam classes at the manor, physically. When I say physically, I don't mean YouTube live. I mean physically. The effort you put in approaching Srimad Bhagavatam will be rewarded by how Bhagavatam speaks back to you. And it's only something worth experiencing rather than me telling you. So go down there physically, at least over the weekends, let's say, for example, or one of the weekdays, or whatever day you choose. That's number one. Number two, Mahaprabhu has given the instruction, Lord Chaitanya, Bhagavata Pado Bhagavatera Sthane. Study Bhagavatam with a Bhagavat, or with a devotee Bhagavat, to be more specific, which means one who has the taste. And I mean, actually, it's not such a unique principle, to be honest, because if I ask you, you want to become an investor in the stock market, you know nothing about stocks. Where would you start? Would a book on stock exchange is all you need? Really? You'll go with a fund manager. You'll invest in some mutual funds, which essentially is somebody else who knows it. You are just tagging along. Or better than that, you might approach a friend who's already investing and who's made good in the stock market. You want to learn how to bake a cake. Would just a recipe book do? Maybe to some degree. You'll go to a baker. If you're really serious, if you want to start a business making wedding cakes, I'm sure you're not going to just buy a book on how to make wedding cakes and open a business. That would be not so intelligent. You'll actually go to someone who makes wedding cakes. So the principle is actually, we see it all around us. In whatever we do, we got to go to someone who is doing that better than us. So Lord Chaitanya says, Bhagavata Pado. First of all, you read Bhagavatam. It's a shame many of us don't read Bhagavatam. It's a shame. Why is it a shame? Am I trying to shame people? I'm not trying to shame people. It says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela. Now, I'm okay to repeat things, right? So I'm repeating. I'm not concocting anything of my own head. It says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are 5 things that everyone who is a Gaudiya Vaishnava must do. When Lord Chaitanya met Srila Rupa Goswami in Prayag, he gave him 64 principles, and of the 64, he boiled it down to 5 principles. And these 5 principles, of these 5, one of the principles is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's interesting, Bhagavata Shravana, it says, to hear Bhagavatam. How can you hear something? Either you read it loud and you hear, or a more natural way of doing it is you hear others speak. And there you go, there is association. And generally, you'll hear from someone who already knows. If you want to know how to invest in the stock market, you're not going to ask your 10-year-old son. You're going to ask somebody who knows. So you're going to hear from someone who knows. So yes, you're right. Sometimes we read the purports and it's not very clear, and our minds go in all directions, and we're not in tune. The problem with us is we're not in tune with Bhagavatam. Once you're in tune with Bhagavatam, then it's just melody. I attended an orchestra in Vienna. listen to this. It was a orchestra which was showcasing the, I don't know if it was the 100th or some kind of anniversary of Mozart. Have you heard of Mozart? Yeah. This guy was like some kind of a genius. I'm musically dumb, absolutely dumb. So for me, the braying of a donkey and a croaking of a frog and a wonderful Mozart all sounds the same. Well, I mean, not literally, but it's almost similar for me. I'm not a musical person at all. I don't have ear for music. So I went with this colleague of mine who's a, he's Austrian, half German, half Austrian. He bought the tickets for us, and he said, "Come, I'll take you to this concerto, concert, orchestra." And they were playing Mozart, and he was sitting next to me. And because he is himself a musical pro, at every moment there was some kind of a, to my ears, some kind of a different sound. I couldn't even make sense of what the difference was. He was jumping on his chair and he was cheering and he was like, "Ah," and he had all kinds of emotions. And to me, beyond a certain point, I was just having a mild headache. So what's going on there? You could be reading Bhagavatam and you could be having a headache. Yeah, you could be. It just means you're still not in tune. But the point is, if you want to be in tune, start small. Start by attentively reading. Don't go past one purport if you don't really, sometimes we read and our mind's already distracted in so many things, in so many ways. We'll just keep reading. Okay, next. Okay, next. We got to do a marathon, 20 pages. Okay, next. Well, that's one way to do it. But in that way, some things will fall through, some things will fall out, some things will never even touch our heads. Because if you have a really bad day or an anxious day, you'll read something and your mind is just in that anxiety. You're just anxious, anxious, anxious. Health anxiety, money anxiety, relationship anxiety, work anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. Anxiety for anxiety's sake. You're reading, nothing will go through. So the art is block yourself out, attentive, your mind and intelligence both. When you read something which is so attractive, you say, right to Srimad Bhagavatam, wow, this is so beautiful. Express emotionally. Even though you may be emotionally dull otherwise, doesn't matter. With Bhagavatam, have that emotion. You'll see in hours. And if you're unlucky in days, you'll have deep attraction for Bhagavatam. Deep attraction. I speak from experience, not theoretical. I developed my attraction for Bhagavatam 30 years ago. 30 years. I have little attraction, not something that is like a pro, not a lover of Bhagavatam or anything of that sort, but whatever it is, I managed to scratch the surface for sure. But that happened so quick. Okay, Rajesh, one more question, and then I do want to give everyone a break.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they will not turn up next time.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Prabhu. So,
Ooh, you're echoing.
Sorry, one second. Sorry, is that better?
Logged in twice. Oh, yeah.
Just appreciation. I just wanted to acknowledge what everyone has been saying, and also just how kind you are. I know when you're doing the detailed cantos, there's always so much nectar to go through, which you manage to help us digest. But to do an overview like this is so rare. So thank you for the beauty, how you explained and reset our base, the filters we should be using, and the final essence diagram is amazing. Simple engineering, but it's beautiful. So thank you. Okay, I'll
All
go quiet
right.
now.
With that note, we will take a 5-minute break. We'll be back at 11:21. And we are then going to get into a story of how Srimad Bhagavatam came to be recognized as the most wonderful scripture. It's extremely likely you've not read or heard about this particular story. It's extremely likely. So stay with us. I don't know if I can pause the recording. I don't know how to do it. Also, I just want to acknowledge, I don't want to be impersonal. I want to be acknowledging all the participants. So if you just stay for a moment. Antonella, I don't know if I know you, but Haribol, nice to see you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Haribol.
Haribol, Bidisha, nice to have you.
Haribol.
Haribol, hey, Haribol, I do know you. Chandrabali, is that Chandrabali Mataji from the Manor or from Soho Street or Chandrabali Mataji? Haribol. Charu Rasika Mataji, Hare Krishna, I do know you. How are you? You're on mute. Hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Dharmaveer Prabhu, you asked several questions. Nice to see you. Dharmendra Prabhu, Haribol. Geeta. Geeta, is this Geeta from Leicester? Is this some other Geeta? Okay. Hare Krishna. Inal Ben from Cambridge. Haribol.
Haribol Prabhu, thank you so much.
Oh, Malavji is also there. Nice to see you both.
Hare
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Then Janu Kanya Mataji, of course. Jolie. She's always jolly. You know, her birth name was Jolly. Actually, it was Jolie. I used to call her Jolly because she's always jolly. She's a grandma, and she comes with a beautiful hat at the manor. JJ, there are three J Wade, okay?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol, I don't think I have met you. Kusum Mataji, Modadharini, Hare Krishna. Madhvi Mataji, Bhalti Mala Mataji, Haribol, কেমন আছো?
ভালো আছি Prabhu, thank you so much.
Haribol. Where is Santosh Prabhu?
I think he has joined from downstairs.
Ah, okay. Then we have Margarita, Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Oh,
you.
so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. And everyone.
Priya Radha Mataji, Haribol. Ah, wonderful to see you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hey, તમે ઘરે છો? Okay.
હું ઘરે જ છું.
Nice, nice. So nice to see you.
Nice seeing you too.
Purni, Haribol, Raghav Chandraji, Haribol, Rajesh, Haribol. Sakshi, is that Sakshi ji from the one who came to Govardhan?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hey, Haribol. Wonderful to see you once again.
Thank you, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And we have Shivali. Shivali is one of the best, most mesmerizing Kirtaniya. Shivali, I don't know where she is. She is not here. Don't see her. But Shivali, Hare Krishna. Okay, maybe she's shy. Sita Sundari Devi, Haribol. Sriji Sundari Devi, Dāsa ki jai. Sriji Sundari is my good wife. And one of the, like they say, behind every man, great or otherwise, is a woman. So Sriji Sundari is always supporting me. Thank you, Sriji Sundari. Subarna Vishnupriya and Shujoy Gaur Prabhu Ki Jai. These are Gaur Premi Jans, the lovers of Gauranga from Bangladesh. Subarna Radha Mataji. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Good to see you.
Yes, wonderful to see you.
Thank you. I'm just looking forward to the whole session. You're just amazing. You
Hare
explain
Krishna.
it so beautifully. Even an idiot like me can understand a little bit of it. Thank you.
The reality is, I am not amazing. Srimad Bhagavatam is amazing. You know, you've got this attraction since we started whatever this morning. If you felt any attraction for Bhagavatam, it's got zero contribution from me. It's Bhagavatam itself is Bhagwan is so attractive. This is the truth. Anyway.
The truth is also the narrator who narrates it, who gets the power from your Guru Maharaj and the rest.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vikash Bhatji, Haribol. So wonderful. Sorry, I took 5 minutes there. We will give another 5 minutes for a break. Is 5 minutes sufficient for everyone?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, 5 minutes. You walk around, have a little sip of water. I'm keeping one next to me. And then even I'm taking notes. So please do take notes. Yeah. And we shall meet again in about 5-6 minutes. 11:26. Hare Krishna.
You can pause recording, Prabhu. If you click on recording.
Can you do it? Because I'm not very in tune with this thing.
Now
How do I do it?
Now the host rights are with you. That's why I cannot do.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So like I said, one of the biggest support that we have to study Srimad Bhagavatam is to traverse the path of perfection that has been traversed by the previous acharyas, that has been illuminated by the previous acharyas. And so Srila Prabhupada himself used a book of the previous acharyas, which is called Ashtatika Bhagavat, which was printed by Sri Rangacharya at Sri Devkinandan Press in Vrindavan in 1964. It was edited by Nityananda Brahmachari, who was a Gaudiya Vaishnava. And in that book of commentaries, there were Sanskrit commentaries of Sridhar Swami, Radharaman Goswami, who is a guru of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Veer Raghavacharya, who belongs to the Shri Sampradaya, Vijay Dhwaja, who belongs to Madhva Sampradaya, Jeev Goswami, you all know, Vallabhacharya, who belongs to the Rudra Vaishnava Sampradaya, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Shri Shukadev, who belongs to Nimbarka Sampradaya, and also a Hindi translation. This is the book that he would use, 8 commentaries. You can see in this photo, Prabhupada is dictating with a rather thick book, which he seems to be reading from, and then he's dictating. So his method was very simple. He would read through these 8 commentaries and pick up the salient features from these, add his own flavor by adding what people like you and me would find sort of more understandable, because most of these commentaries were written at least between 500 to 1,000 years ago. So these commentaries would sometimes give a perspective or examples which a current reader, a modern reader, would not be able to understand. And for a modern reader, Prabhupada made sure that the language, the presentation was more current, the examples he quoted were more understandable and approachable and appreciable. So Prabhupada did it this way, and these were the full-length commentaries on all cantos. Sridhar Swami, Vamshidhar, Veer Raghavacharya, Vijay Dhwaja. You can see the name of their commentary and the school to which they belonged, the philosophical school, the main acharya of that school, and the founder personality of that school. So founder is Rudra, Shri, then there is Brahma, and Lord Chaitanya is Brahma Madhva Gaudiya, and Nimbarka, Kumar, and Rudra, like that. So this is all the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. But actually there are more commentaries. And in terms of the authorized tradition, we should add Srila Prabhupada's commentary to it as well. So this is, for example, the list of all authorized Vaishnava commentaries. As you can see here, and if you were to read all the names, Kardamaksha being just the Anvaya, you can ignore that. But from this point onwards, if you read all the names, Sridhar Swami Virachitaha Bhavartha Deepika, Shri Vamshidhara Kritaha Bhavartha Deepika Prakashaha, Srimad Jiva Goswami Krita Vaishnavatoshini, Srimad Jiva Goswami Krita Brihad Vaishnavatoshini, Shri Sudarshana Suri Krita Shukapakshiyam, Srimad Veera Raghavacharya Krita Bhagavata Chandra Chandrika, Srimad Vijay Dhvaja Tirtha Krita Padaratnavali, etc. Srimad Jiva Goswami Krita Krama Sandarbha, Srimad Jiva Goswami Krita Bruhat Krama Sandarbha. You can see Jiva Goswami has written 4 commentaries on Bhagavatam. Srinath Chakravarti Pada Virachita Chaitanya Matamanjusha, Srimad Vishwanath Chakravarti Krita Saharartha Darshini, Srimad Shukadeva Krita Siddhanta Pradipah, Shri Baladev Vidya Bhushana Krita Vaishnavanandini. So like that, if you see, there are 32 commentaries, 3 to 32 on Srimad Bhagavatam. When we were children, we were taught the main commentaries, Sridhar Swami's commentary and Vamshidhara's commentary, and then the commentary of Vallabhacharya and his Sampradaya. You have a very sweet, of course, you have Purushottam's commentary, but you also have Giridhar Lal's commentary, which is very easy to understand commentary. So those were the ones that we studied as children in Sanskrit. These commentaries are all available, unfortunately or fortunately, only in Sanskrit. Why fortunately? Because if it's in a language which is not commonly accessible, it also in a subtle way protects the text from being used in a innovative, inventive, speculative fashion. So it's good that it's in Sanskrit. Not everyone has access to it. So these are the main commentaries. So I've listed 30 out of the 32. So you can see the names. I don't want to read through all of them. But these are 20, and this is 30. These are the main 30 ones, and there is 2 more. Those are sub-commentaries, actually. So a total of 32. And each one of these commentaries, commentator has a different kind of flavor to what they give us. So what is going to be our approach to the overview session? Well, for the Mahatmya and for the first canto, second canto onwards, we'll see. I'm not making any commitment because Soho Street has only asked me to do the overview session at the moment. As in the Mahatmya overview session at the moment. But if we were to do other cantos, our approach will be Vihangavalokanam. So in Sanskrit, there are 2 aspects. One is known as Simhavalokanam, which means retrospective revision, because Simha means a lion. After he attacks and kills an animal, after the kill has been made, while he drags his kill, he pauses and he looks behind just to see that nobody else is there. So he scans behind, backward. So that's like a revision. Simhavalokanam. There is another which is Vihangavalokanam, from which in English also we use this word bird's eye view. So how a bird would view something. So we are going to give you a bird's eye view. Now, of course, the challenge with the bird's eye view is that you could miss the finer details in the essentials. So there's another principle which we shall be applying in these overviews. These are just mesmerizingly succulent gulab jamuns, as you can see. Now, there's a phrase in Sanskrit which says, Pindam hitva karam ledhi. This phrase describes a foolish person. Do you know what this means? Anyone? I take that as a no. So, once a man was given a nice gulab jamun, and he was a greedy person for gulab jamuns. So when he had the gulab jamun in his palm, as you know, gulab jamun is usually dripping in sugar syrup. And if you want to make it even better, you add some rose water to the sugar syrup, and that tastes really nice. And if you have some dried rose petals from Bulgaria, Bulgaria is the world's best rose producer. So the dried lotus petals, rose petals from Bulgaria are the most fragrant and sweet. So if you add some of those with, it's really juicy. So this man who was very greedy for gulab jamun was given a gulab jamun in his palm. And as he was about to bite the gulab jamun, he saw, if you can see me on the screen, maybe I stop. Can you see me? Are you able to see me, or who do you? Because I see Dharmendra Prabhu.
We can see you, Prabhu.
Oh,
Go
you
on.
can see me.
Yes, yes.
So he had this gulab jamun in his palm, and the nice syrup was dripping down his hand. And as it was dripping down his hand, he thought he was so greedy. He thought he didn't even want to miss even a fraction of the gulab jamun. And so he took his hand up to lick the syrup. And while he tried to lick the syrup, the actual gulab jamun dropped. So this is how in Sanskrit, very poetically, you define a fool. A fool is someone who is so much interested in so much detail that he misses the main point. Right? So we're not going to be like that, foolish. So although we are doing an overview, it's not going to be just an overview. We are going to go in the details, which are essential. That's why I gave this example, Pindam hitva karam ledhi. We're not going to fall into that trap of trying to go into so much detail that we forget what we are talking about. And why do we need this bird's eye view? Because it'll give us some continuity of thought, pravaha. It will also help us understand when we are reading Purva Para Sambandha. These three are needed if one wants to understand a Shastra. These three. Pravaha. You need to understand the flow. Purva Para Sambandha. Purva, previous, apara, later, Sambandha. What is the connection between what was spoken before and what is going to be spoken after? And Samanvaya. Everything that we read or study must make sense. That is possible if we take like a bird's eye view. So, what is the format of the Bhagavatam? Mahaprabhu says, Prashnottare Bhagavate Kori Ache Nirdhar Jahar Shravane Loke Lage Chamatkar. Bhagavatam is essentially just questions and answers. But the conclusions that are established by Bhagavatam through these questions and answers are extremely astonishing. Chamatkar. Lage chamatkar. So we shall start with the Bhagavat Mahatmya. Now, why do we start with the Mahatmya? I already mentioned. Mahatmyam means Mahatmano Bhavaha, understanding something's importance or understanding something's exalted state. Like, for example, I can never forget, for example, my son Dhruva, when he was 3 years old, he wanted to buy, we were at Morrison's and near Queensbury, and he wanted me to buy something for him. Now, I can't recollect what he wanted me to buy, but something. And I said, I don't have any money. And he said, that's okay. You can put the card in the wall and buy some money, and then you can pay for it. Pay for what I want. So he had no concept of money. So he said, you can put the card in the wall and buy some more money, and then you can pay for it. So because he didn't understand at 3-year-old what the importance of money is. But imagine somebody who wants to really become a money-minded man. That person, to begin with, needs to understand how important money is. By understanding what money can buy, by understanding how with money he can enjoy. So if he understands the importance of money, he will then be interested in increasing his money. And he will have faith in money being important, money being worth spending time for. So faith will also appear. Similarly, for Bhagavatam, we will start with the Mahatmya so that we develop Ruchi and Shraddha. Ruchi is interest or love, and Shraddha is faith. Without understanding the importance of something, there is no question of us feeling interested in it, and no question of us having faith in it. So Mahatmya Jnana generates Ruchi and Shraddha. Now we turn to the pastime in the Skanda Purana. I will leave the last 10 minutes for questions, perhaps, but stay with me. It's a beautiful episode. Just want to turn the fan on because where I am in the loft, it's really hot. Okay. So, before we go into the Skanda Purana, here is the family tree of the Kurus and the Yadus. The Kurus belong to Hastinapur, which is close to modern-day Delhi. And Yadus belong to Mathura. Both of these clans are interrelated because they have the same ancestor. In the Kurus, you have the Pandavas, and of the Pandava, Arjuna married the sister of Krishna named Subhadra, who is the daughter of Vasudeva. From them appeared Abhimanyu, who married Uttara. From them appeared Parikshit, who married Iravati. And from them appeared Janamejaya. We will stay with Parikshit for the time being. On the other side, you see Krishna married Rukmini, from whom appeared Pradyumna, who married Rukmavati, from whom appeared Aniruddha, who married Usha, the daughter of Banasura, from whom appeared Vajranabha. Now this Vajranabha also made Parikshit Maharaj, the same Parikshit Maharaj that we know of, as his archery guru. And Parikshit Maharaj had an uncle-nephew relationship with Vajranabha. So the background is this, that Krishna had disappeared. Parikshit Maharaj was instated as the king of the whole world. Because if you remember, Yudhishthira Maharaj performed a Rajasuya Yajna. Rajasuya literally means a sacrifice to establish emperorship. And the sacrifice takes place by unleashing a horse to freely roam around in any direction. Wherever the horse sets his foot, if a Kshatriya catches or holds the horse or restrains the horse, then the army that is following behind the horse will attack that Kshatriya prince or king to establish their right over that king's kingdom. The king, after being defeated, would have to leave the kingdom, and the kingdom will be occupied by the soldiers of the king on whose behalf the army, which was led by this free-roaming horse, would be captured. So, in case of Yudhishthira Maharaj, most of the Kshatriyas simply conceded, which means they didn't even pick a fight with the Pandavas. They just let the horse pass through unchallenged through their kingdom, which means they recognize the superiority of Yudhishthira Maharaj and the emperorship of Yudhishthira Maharaj. After he became an emperor, after a few years, after 32 years to be precise, he left his kingdom. And he left his kingdom making his grandson, Parikshit, the king or the emperor of all of earth, except Mathura. He gave the kingdom of Mathura to Vajranabha. Now, if you visit Mathura today, Mathura Mandala, you will see many, many deities established by Vajranabha. In fact, the three primary deities of the Gaudiya Sampradaya were all established by Vajranabha. Do you know these three primary deities? Madan Mohan as the Sambandha deity, Govinda Dev as the Abhideya deity, and Gopinath is the Prayojana deity. These three deities were originally established by Vajranabha. So how did that happen? How did that came about, that 5,000 years ago, 5,500 years ago, Vajranabha established these places in Vraj? Why did he do that? We will learn today. This is a great secret. And this will lead to the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. You will just see how beautifully the narrative takes us to Srimad Bhagavatam. If you're taking notes, it will help you understand with greater clarity. So the sages have once gathered and are asking Suta Goswami, Vajram Shri Mathura Deshe Swapotram Hastinapure Abhishincha Gate Rajni. Abhishincha, after doing Abhishek, which means after crowning Vajram Shri Mathuradeshe. After crowning Vajranab in Mathuradesh, Swapautram and his own grandson Hastinapure in Hastinapur. Gate Rajni. Yudhishthir and his brothers left after establishing these two in Hastinapur and in Mathura, respectfully, they left. Tau katham kincha chakratu. The sages are asking, so now Yudhishthir and the Pandavas have gone. What did this Parikshit and Vajranab do? Mahapatham gate rajni Parikshit Prithvipati. The great king Yudhishthir Maharaj did Mahapatham or Mahaprasthana. Means he went via the great path. He walked to heaven and beyond. So Mahapatham gate radni Parikshit Prithvipati. Parikshit became the emperor of earth, Prithvi. Jagama Mathuram Vipra. He once went to Mathura. Who went to Mathura? Parikshit went to Mathura. To see whom? Vajranabha Didrikshaya. To see Vajranabha. So keep following me. If you don't follow, then ask. When he met Vajranabha, who is his nephew, Vajranabha was very pleased. He greeted Parikshit Maharaj. However, the greeting was a little strange because the greeting was done personally by Vajranabha with no assistance, with nobody in the kingdom. So it was a very confusing situation. Vajranabha was the king of Mathura, and yet there was no one in Mathura. It was like a deserted place with trees overgrowing everywhere and claiming pretty much all of Mathura. When I say Mathura, I mean the whole Braj Mandala, not just Mathura, not just the city of Mathura. So after welcoming Parikshit Maharaj, of course, asked him, inquired about his well-being. And Vajranabha reluctantly replied. But he replied with a question. Vajranabha said, Mathure Tvavishittopi. Although I have been crowned as the king of Mathura, Sthitoham Nirjane Vane. I am sthita, I am staying in a Nirjana Vana, in a forest where there is no human being, no one, deserted forest. Kva gata vai prajatratya. Where have the praja gone from here? You see, without a praja, without the subjects, there is no raja, there is no king. King is king only as far as they have subjects. So we have the great monarchy in the UK. Why do we have the great monarchy? If you ever bothered to read your passport, assuming you have a British passport, you will read that we are all considered to be the subjects of His Royal Highness, King Charles II. So we are all subjects, and hence he is the king. If there are no subjects, there is no king. Kvagata vai praja atratya. Where have the praja gone from here? Yatra rajyam prarochyate. It is only through praja that the kingdom shines. Like Britain is, if Britain becomes very well recognized, let's say in the Olympics, the king personally greets all the gold, silver, bronze medalists from the Olympics. Why does he personally greet them? Because the subjects, as British subjects, they have made the king proud. They are what makes the kingdom shine. So that's what he's saying. Who is saying this? Vajranabh. To whom is he saying? To Parikshit. What is he saying? Well, I've been made the king of Mathura, but I have no subjects. It's a deserted place. Where have all the praja gone from here? It's actually the praja which makes the kingdom shine. So I need to know where have they gone. Parikshit Maharaj is very intelligent. He says, look, in matters that are beyond our understanding, one must approach a senior. And one must just follow the guidance of the senior. So it's beyond my understanding why there is nobody in this land of Mathura Mandal. Let's go to the family priest of Nanda Maharaj. His name is Shandilya Muni. And let's ask him of what probably is the reason why there is no one in Braj. So Shandilya Rishi first says, well, before I answer your question, do you even understand what Braj means? He says, the root Braj, it means Vyapti, all-pervading. He says the Lord himself, Lord Krishna himself, is Braj. In that sense, there is no question of him leaving Braj, because he is Braj. Gunatitam Parabrahma. That Parabrahma, that Supreme Lord, Guna Atitam, who is beyond the modes of nature, transcendental, Vyapakam, he spread across throughout. Vraja Uchyate. Because he spread across throughout, this place is known as Vraja. Because he, through his pastimes, through his cowherd boys and girlfriends, his presence is felt throughout Braj. That is why this place is called Braj, because Krishna is everywhere. And the Lord is called Atmaram. Now, the traditional meaning of Atmaram is one who is self-satisfied. You can't please God. Why can you not please God? Because he's already pleased with himself. Once Prabhupada said, you cannot do anything to please God. Somebody asked, raised their hand and asked, some Christian fellow, why can't you please God? Prabhupada said, because he's already pleased. He needs nothing from you. So Atma Rama. Rama means to be taking pleasure. Ramate iti Rama. One who takes pleasure is Ram. Atmaram means he takes pleasure in his own self. This is generally the meaning. Similarly, Apta Kama. Kama means desires. Apta, in English you have the word which has come from this word Apta. Two words. One is apt, A-P-T, apt. But the other word is obtain. Obtain. Apta means obtain. Kama means desires. Lord Krishna, his other name is Apta Kama, which means his desires are always obtained by him. His desires are always fulfilled. So he is, number one, self, how would you say, Atmarama, one who is pleased always with his own self. And the second is Aptakama, he always obtains his desires. But Shandilya Rishi gives an alternative reading or meaning. He says Atma, here Atma Rama, means self-happy. In that, the word Atma doesn't mean self. He says Atma tu Radhikatasya. He says that here Atma means Radharani. Why? Because Radharani is the soul of the Lord, the soul lover of the Lord. So in the word Atma Rama, you should read it as Srimati Radhika. Rama means lover, lover of Radhika. And Aptakama, he says there's a different meaning. Apta means obtain, and Kama means the desire. But what is the desire of Krishna? Kamastu vanchitastasya. Kama means his desirable objects, which are Gavo, Gopascha, Gopika. So he says Apta Kama means cows, gopis, and gopas. Therefore, Apta Kama means one who has obtained the association of cows, gopas, and gopis. Such a beautiful explanation. Then he says, because Parikshit Maharaj then persists him, my dear Shandilya Rishi, Vajranabh and I have approached you with a specific question. However, you went into trance and started glorifying the Lord. But please answer our specific question. Why is the kingdom of Mathura completely vacant? Except for trees. There's nothing. It's like a forest, deserted forest. So the answer is given by Shandilya Rishi. Now, if you're taking notes, it will probably make more sense. If you're not taking notes, you might struggle a little bit. So there are three types of associates. This is the reply of Shandilya to Vajranabh. What is the reply? Nityastallipshavashchaiva devadyāscheti bhedatah. There are three kinds of personalities who appear on earth when Krishna appears. What are the three? Nitya, then Tallipsu, then Devadya. Now I will define these three so that you understand them. Nitya means eternal. Tallipsu comes from the root word tat lipsu. Lipsu means greedy. Tat means here in this sense him. Those who are greedy to be with him are Tallipsu. And Devadya means those who are demigods, etc. Deva Adi. Devadya. So three categories are there. Those who are eternally liberated. Can you all give me, maybe unmute and just raise your hand and speak and give me example of these three categories before I go any further? Can anyone do that, please?
Nitya would be Krishna's mother and father.
Very good. Nitya will be Krishna's mother, father. They are Nitya Bhaktas. Then, second, Tallipsuhu.
These would be the sages who were greedy to get his association. The sages of Ramayana who were greedy to get his association, and he told them you can have association with them in this yoga.
Or gopis.
Who said gopis?
Jai.
So the gopis are of two categories. There are Nitya Siddha gopis and Sadhana Siddha gopis. What is the meaning? To put it simply, say Krishna was on the planet right now. Who will be the people with him? There'll be some personalities who would have come with him. Forget Krishna. Let's say some mundane example, easy to understand. Let's say King Charles was to come and visit the manor. So there are two kinds of people with him. One is his own people that he has brought from the Buckingham Palace. Second will be those people who have actually never seen him before, but they are seeing him there for the first time, and for the first time they are associating with him. But to be able to get to the point that, look, you are also going to the manor, I am also going to the manor, but if King Charles comes, I am at least sure they will not invite me, and I don't think they will invite you either, right? But then someone who is more like a VIP, somebody who is senior in the management, will be invited to meet King Charles. When King Charles comes, he comes with his own people, plus he meets some selected VIP people. And then there are the commoners like you and me. We are the commoners. Similarly, when Krishna comes, he brings his own associates from Golok. They are known as Nitya Siddhas. They are always there in Golok. Then there are some who become Nitya Siddha by associating with him. But bear in mind that they themselves did not just happen to be with Krishna. They were there because they deserve to be. Like in this mundane example I gave with King Charles. They deserve to be there in one sense. The word deserve may not be the best word, but they deserve to be there, or they are there because they are the VIPs, manor VIPs. Maybe the temple president will be there, maybe the management council will be there, maybe the PWC will be there. So many, PWC is Patronship Working Council, not the PWC company. So you might see some important people there, but they are there also because of their qualification. Similarly, when Krishna comes, brings his own people, then those who have become qualified by their previous bhakti, they also associate with Krishna. But this is the first time they are associating with Krishna, first time, directly. First time. So that category is called Tallipsuhu, because they have the greed for Krishna. Then there are the common people who want to become like those people who are associating with Krishna. So the common people are known as sadhakas. They are performing sadhana bhakti. So now if you see the gopis, for example, in Krishna Leela, it's a mixture of Nitya Siddha gopis, like Lalita, Vishakha, Shaibya, Chitra, so many. Plus, Rati Manjari, Rupa Manjari, Vilasa Manjari, Lavanga Manjari. They are all eternal associates, Nitya Siddhas. But then there are also certain gopis who are not eternal associates. But they were pious enough, not just mundane piety. They had performed so much bhakti that they appeared there as gopis. Now, in that Tallipsu, Sadhana Siddha Gopi, there are two major categories. The first category is called Shruti Janya Gopis. Shruti Janya means those who were in previous age Vedic hymns. Each hymn which was glorifying Krishna thought, oh, we wish we were beautiful females who could associate with Krishna. So they appeared. The Vedic mantras appeared as gopis during Krishna Leela. But they are Tallipsuhu. They are not Nityasiddhas because they are not always in Golok. Now, the other category in Tallipsuhu is Munijanya or Rishijanya also it is called. Those who were rishis, especially when Lord Ramachandra went to the Dandakaranya forest. As he was traversing through the forest, he saw there are so many sages, 60,000 of them. How many? 60,000 sages. They were all doing their tapasya. And as they were doing their tapasya, and when they saw Lord Ramchandra, they forgot their tapasya. Instead, they started saying, "Oh, how we wish he didn't have these skinny bodies with jata and long beard, and sometimes bhasma, ashes, smeared all over the body. We wish we were not like this. Instead, we wish we were beautiful girls, beautiful young girls who could attract Ram's attention. Ram is so pretty, he's so beautiful, so mesmerizingly handsome. We wish we could become Ram's wives." Who is thinking this? The rishis, 60,000 of them. So because of their meditation and years of tapasya and bhakti, they also, like the Shrutis, they also became gopis. So they are known as Munijanya gopis or Rishijanya gopis. These are two main categories, but there are so many other categories. So these two are called as Tallipsu, which means never before were they gopis. This is the first time. So now if you look at that PowerPoint, you will understand that there is Nitya, Tallipsavaha, and Devadya. Before Krishna appeared in this world, he asked the demigods to appear before him, as in prior to him. He asked demigods to appear in the land of Dwarka and Mathura prior to him. So these demigods, they all appeared. All the different demigods, they appeared. And the demigods also served Krishna. But they served Krishna as a sadhaka. Sadhaka means a practitioner. Like you and me, we are practitioners. So here this verse says from Skanda Puran, this is the response of Shandilya Rishi to Vajranab. Why there is nobody in this kingdom? Nityah Tallipsavaschaiva Devadyāscheti Bhedatah. There is Bheda, difference, three kinds. Nitya, Tallipsavaha, and Devadya, three categories of beings when Krishna appeared. Now, what is the destination of each one of them is being mentioned. Devadyasteshu Krishnena Dwarikam Prapita Pura. Now, these demigods who had appeared, they were so powerful compared to the humans because they were demigods, right? It's like ordinary mortals trying to fight the immortals. One of the synonyms for demigods is Amara, which means immortal. How can mortals ever win over immortals? Therefore, Krishna asked all the Yadavas who were previously demigods in their previous lives to come together in one place and they all came together and they fought with each other. And they fought with each other on petty matters, like whether Krishna was to be blamed in Kurukshetra, or was he righteous, or was Duryodhan righteous and Pandavas and Krishnas were to be blamed. On these petty matters, they fought and they killed each other in Dwarka. Devadyas teshu Krishnena, amongst them the Devadyas, Dwarikam prapita pura, they reached, or they were sent to Dwarka by Krishna. And in Dwarka, coast of Gujarat, they fought each other and they killed each other. Because that's the only way the demigods, the immortals, could be gotten rid of from this earth. Otherwise, there is no possibility of the immortals being rid of. So he had to do this. Krishna had to do this. He took them to Dwarka and schemed a plan through which they fought with each other and killed each other and finished. That's the destination of the first category. They just serve the Lord officially. Punarmaushala margena, through fighting with each other, swadhikareshu chapita, these demigods died and attained their original positions. Indra went to Indralok, Varuna went to Varunalok, like that. And what happened to the Tallipsu? So this is the answer from Chandalya Rishi. There are three kinds of people. Then he says the Devadyas are not visible because they were all sent to Dwarka. And in Dwarka, they fought each other through this Maushala Yuddha. In fact, the last canto of, I think, no, not the last canto, but there is a canto in Mahabharata which is called as Maushala Parva. The whole section is of Maushala, fighting between the Yadus, who were previously the demigods. So they were destroyed. So what is the destination of the Devadyas? They just destroyed. What is the destination of the Tallipsus? Tallipsumscha sada Krishna premanandaika rupinah. These Tallipsus, these new gopis, for example, who only became gopis in this birth, they were always too immersed and engrossed in the love of the Lord. Vidhaya sviya nityeshu samaveshitavamstada. And after they passed away, or after they leave, they become nitya. Who becomes nitya? The Tallipsu becomes nitya. Whereas who are nityas? Nitya sarvepi ayogyeshu. Nityas are now visible in front of those who are unrighteous. Darshana bhavatam gata. So these nityas were not visible. So basically what Chandra Rishi is saying is, the nityas were not visible because they can't be seen by ordinary people. Tallipsuhu became gopis in this life, first time. They were not visible because they became nitya. And the first category, which is nityas, sorry, Devadyas, third category. Devadyas were not visible because they were killed in Dwarka. So they were not visible. Is this making sense? Any questions before I proceed any further? Do you follow these three?
Krishna Prabhuji. Can I just double check something? So the lips of the gopis, they disappeared because of their service while they, in their association with Hare Krishna. They then became nityas. They then rose another level to nityas. That's why they disappeared.
Yeah,
compared to
so
us.
what is the question?
So have I got that part right? That they got elevated. So the
Yeah.
okay, so
So the
elevation.
Talipsu become Nitya.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, who were the commoners then in the
Commoners are the Devadyas, they are still commoners. And then the commoners are also all those people who either took some recognition of the Lord or who rejected the Lord. Even they, although commoners, they had some pious credit to be able to see the Lord in person. Like, for example, Shakuni, Duryodhan, they didn't become Gopi, they didn't go to Golok. They end up in heaven for many incredible number of years. They end up in heaven. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the commoners are not in these categories, in these three categories.
No, you could consider Devata to be
Okay, one of
close
them.
to the commoners because they also didn't recognize Krishna necessarily as Bhagwan.
Mhm.
They couldn't connect with Krishna as an intimate servant. Even when they considered Krishna to be their Lord, they weren't. So that's why they went back to their original position, it is explained. And then after going back to their original position in the Swargalok, after they finish that life, they go to Vaikuntha planets, but they don't go to Golok. These devatas.
Mhm. So what about the animals, bro? The cows, monkeys, bulls?
Golok, the ones who are in Vraj. Even amongst them, there are Nitya. Even there are some cows, Surabhi cows, who are Nitya. Monkeys also. For example, there is a monkey, female monkey by the name of Kakhati, who makes a very harsh sound with her teeth. We were recently in Braj, we saw so many big monkeys. So big female monkey, she makes sound with showing her teeth. Like that, very harsh. And that wakes up Krishna and Radharani. So her name is Kakhati. She came. Then there is a king of monkeys by the name of Dadhi Lobha. He who is greedy for yogurt. His name is Dadhi Lobha, the monkey's name. He also came. Nitya. So Krishna came with his parikara. Parikara means his associates. Like the king comes not only with the ministers, he also comes with the umbrella. Na? The umbrella is not such a great thing in itself. But still, the umbrella comes with the king. And if the king has some pets, like the queen had 2 pet dogs, the pets may also come. Like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you, bro.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah.
Prabhu, I just want to ask one simple question, a very basic question. You said 2.6.1.32. So how do you read that?
From
Canto
Skanda Purana.
2?
It is from Skanda Purana.
Sorry, thank you.
Not Bhagavatam. We already said these are Skanda Purana. Anything else?
Yeah, can I just ask Krishna Prabhu that you said that the Yadavas, the demigods, they came down. I think specifically for that Mushalya purpose. Was there also another purpose in that? Were there other demigods
They
on the
didn't
other
come down for Maushalya. Maushalya means the killing. They didn't come down to kill each other. No. They came down for becoming Yadavas, for ruling the kingdom, for fighting against the different asuras for becoming the family members of Krishna. They came for that purpose. They didn't come down for, this is how Krishna got rid of them, by interfighting. Why? Because if he had not made the demigods fight against demigods and kill each other in this human world, then they were the immortals. How could the normal mortals ever win over them? And they could have become corrupt and they could have destroyed the rest of the world because they are invincible compared to the ordinary humans. I mean, there were people in the Yadu clan who just by looking at someone could burn that person. Now, what chance does that person have, ordinary human have, in front of someone who can burn you by just looking at you? You have no chance, right? So the only way to get rid of them back, before Krishna goes back, he orchestrates a fight between these two. This is given in Bhagavatam, also given in Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, there's an entire section called Maushala Parva, the section of fight, killing each other. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, Dharmavir Prabhu, quickly.
Prabhuji, how come demigods immortal? Because Bhagavad Gita, like verse 30
Yeah. You know this. How you don't know this?
Abrahma Bhuvanaloka.
Yes, so I'm surprised how you don't know this. You are such a nice devotee. When somebody says Amara, it is in the context of the day of Brahma. Amara doesn't mean forever and forever and forever. Amara means within the context of 8.46 billion years. When the dukan is band, at the end of the day, the shop is closed, all employees have to leave. So nobody sleeps in the Sainsbury in the night. So when Brahma shuts his dukan, his shop, he says, okay, have you been to Sainsbury's during night hours before they shut? There is a bell that rings. Similarly, the bell rings and then all the living entities, there's a flood. And Lord Shiva starts dancing. There is a flood. And everyone is consumed in that flood. And all the demigods are gone. Next batch tomorrow morning. So like that. So yeah, when you say Amara, it means you have a all-day shift. When you say not Amara, means you only are like a guest, like a shopping, like a normal shopper. You only go inside the shop and come out soon. After 1 minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour. But Amara means the employees, they are there for full day. So not Amara means immortal, means forever and ever. That's never the case. Yes, of course. Abrahma bhuvanaloka punaravartino Arjuna punaravartinaha. Everyone comes back and everyone dies. What is the verse? Dhruvam hi. What is the verse? Mrityu. Anyway, Mrityu is. Huh? Anyone?
Mamopetyanti tu Konteya. Is that the same verse, Prabhu, you're asking?
No.
I just checked. I just looked up. Jatasya hi dhruva mrityu.
That is the one. Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityu. Jatasya, anyone who is born, dhruvam mrityu is it's definite. Dhruva means fixed. Actually, the word dhruva means fixed. Dhruva Maharaj was very firm, fixed. So the word dhruva means fixed, firm. So it's determined, it's firm, it's pakka, that if you are born, you will die. This applies to demigods also. Okay, we will go further, huh? Because I have to finish at least 15 more minutes and then we'll take some questions. Now, if you understood this, then please also understand something more which Shandilya Rishi says. He says there are two types of leelas of the Lord. One is known as Vastavi Leela. Vastavi means real. It's also known as Aprakata Leela. Aprakata means it's unmanifest in this world. The other Leela is called Vyahavariki Leela. Vyahavariki means transactional Leela, which happens on earth. Transactional means it happens only for a fixed duration. And this is witnessed by many. This is called the Prakata Leela. So there is unmanifest pastimes which are in Golok, and there are manifest pastimes which are in Bhuloka. And the players are Nitya. At the end of his pastimes, Mother Yashoda, Nand Maharaj, Radharani, the Ashtasakhis, the Manjaris, all Nityas, they go back to Aprakata Leela. Correct? From Prakata Leela, Earth Leela, they go to Aprakata Leela, the Nitya. The Tallipsuhu, who were for the first time they have witnessed Krishna directly, they get converted to Nitya and they also go back because they are now eternal associates. And the Devadya, they were taken to Dwarka, and through Musala Parva, they died and they also resumed their original positions in the demigod worlds. So if this has happened for all the living entities, who will be left in Mathura? Is anyone left? Yes or no?
Yeah, no.
Huh?
No, just the trees.
Of course, nobody's left.
I think they are left, Prabhu, but they are not seen. As you said, Krishna never lives Vraja, but they are not seen to the...
In that sense, correct. So the answer is given here. Vidhaya, see, tallipsumscha vidhaya sviya nityeshu samaveshitavam stada. They were samavesha. Samavesh means they were included within nityas and they left. And what happens to nityaha? Nityaha sarvepi ayogyeshu. Those who are ayogya, those who are not fit to witness them. Darshana bhavatam gata. They become darshana abhava. Darshana abhava means they become invisible. So in one sense, because Vraj is there, Nitya Leela is going on there, but we cannot witness. You're right. So even in that sense, from our perspective, what happened to Mathura Mandal? Completely
empty.
Very good. So we understand Tallipsu means longing for him, greedy for him, or longing for him. So the stages of spiritual body, first, there are many on earth, right? Many people like us. We practice to develop love. We are called as sadhakas. It is like somebody who wants to become a doctor, but he's still in school, year 13, A levels, trying to get to the university in medical degree. We have not become siddha yet, sadhaka. So this is number one, is our level. We are on earth. Then, if we do really well, we become siddha. We go from earth to a higher planet like the Devatas to do some enjoyment before going to Vaikuntha. Or if we are siddhas, we go to a higher planet, come back and continue bhakti. But in that state, we are close to perfection. So this is like the student who has entered the university doing their MBBS studies or medical studies, who is still studying and graduating. But even at this point, when the person has perfected his life or her life, this could be us in this life. Or maybe it could be, we could be here, sadhaka, or we could be, some of us could be siddhas. who have already burnt many, many lifetimes back. We burnt our karmas and we have now just come to finish off some little things here and there. We already have deep connection with Krishna. We have good samskaras, good lineage, good foundation, good understanding of bhakti. We have love for Harinam, we have love for Mahaprabhu, love for Bhagavatam, love for the devotees. So we are certainly, in this life only we will perfect ourselves. And yet, we have to continue our work. Like a student who enters into university doesn't mean job is done. You have to still study and graduate. And when you graduate, you still don't have any experience of how to practice. So in the next life, this person who has perfected his life, when we say somebody goes back to Godhead, it's not like immediately next life going back to Godhead in a very literal way. It means back to Godhead, meaning where Godhead is, where Krishna is, the person will go there. So this Siddha, in his next life, he appears as a Tallipsuhu, one who has perfected and is now born for the first time in the company of Krishna. This is like a doctor graduate needing experience. He does the internship program. So in this stage, in the next life, this person who is a Siddha, for the first time, he is born from the womb of a gopi, as either a gopa or as a gopi. And that is the first time that a new gopi or a new gopa is born, who is given a new family member, who is a gopa or gopi, with a new name, and Krishna develops his relation with them. Or it could be a calf born to a cow, or it could be a monkey born to a female monkey. Whatever form we take in the spiritual world, we have to appear there and we have to have our father, mother, brother, uncle, aunt, sister, our relation with Krishna, this, that, everything sorted, right? So in the next life that happens. First time, we don't know. Tallipsuhu. This is longing, those who have matured their longing for him. Like these Shrutis, like these Rishis of Dandakaranya, they became Siddha in Dandakaranya. And then they appeared as gopis. This is different to the Nitya Parikara, who are always there in Goloka. But then Tallipsu, after they finish this association, they appear in Goloka as Nitya Parikara. Like this person who has graduated, done his doctorate, MBBS, and taken his internship, taken the experience of what it is like to be with Krishna. In this case, what is it like to act as a GP? He or she then, in the next life, is an established GP. In the next life, you are a Nitya Parikara. So there are stages. It's not some random thing. So this Siddha definitely goes back to Godhead. But back to Godhead means back to Krishna, where Krishna is performing his pastimes. Doesn't necessarily mean Golok Vrindavan. In fact, it does not mean Golok Vrindavan. Says who? Who has said all this? All our Goswamis, not any one in particular, all our Goswamis. In fact, even in Bhagavatam it is said. If you read Bhagavatam with the right understanding, for example, 10th canto, chapter 82, anyway, there are many references to be understood in correct way. Okay. So in summary, the sadhaka becomes a siddha in Bharatavarsha. Bharatavarsha doesn't mean India. This whole land was ruled by Bharat Maharaj. Just like the king, His Royal Highness King Charles Windsor, King Charles Windsor is not the King of London. So if you are born in the kingdom of King Charles, you cannot say I'm born in London. You could be born in Cambridge. You could be born in Oxford. You could be born in Inverness, the far-fetched corner of Scotland. Inverness. Yes, you could be born there and you're still in the kingdom of the king. Similarly, Bharat Maharaj ruled all of Bhumandala, not even earth, beyond earth. So this is Bharat Varsha is different. Of course, where he appeared is that land is also known as Bharata. So that place is also, like for example, we live in London, but we don't live in the city of London. Many of us on the call, I know some are from Cambridge and other places, but I live in London, but I don't live in the city of London. The city of London is 1 mile square in the heart of London, where the Bank of England is. It's a truthful thing I'm saying. It's a reality. So although I live in London, I don't live in the city of London like that. Sometimes you live in Bharat, but not Bharat Varsha. Okay. I beg your pardon, the other way around. You may live in Bharat Varsha. We are all living on Bharat Varsha or Bharata Khanda, but not in Bharat Desha. Desh means country of Bharat. Like we are in London, but not city of London, like that. So Bharat Maharaj's own country was Bharat Desh, where he was born was Bharat Desh, which is India. But here, we could be born anywhere and we could become sadhaka, we could become siddha. Sadhaka means practitioner of Krishna consciousness. Siddha means perfected in Krishna consciousness. Anywhere. Could be in Europe, America. And then, once we are siddha, no matter where we are siddha. No matter where we die, you can die in London and go back to God. Yes. There is no such thing that you cannot die in London and not go back to Godhead. To go back to Godhead, the sole criteria is your bhakti, your devotion, your love for Krishna, not where you die. Of course, if you die in Bharat, you may have some extra pious bonus points. But Siddha, perfected person, dies anywhere. Next life, Bhauma Vraja is born in Vraja of earth. But not just any Vraja. So are you trying to say, if you may ask me, that all those people who are born in Vrindavan, like the Vrindavan in India, they are all Tallipsu? No. This is people are born in, sorry, I need to add something because otherwise it's an incomplete message. So bear with me, I'm making a change there in the slides before I forget, because I will forget otherwise. Now, can you see this? How do I share? Okay. Share. Are you able to see full screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So the person is born in Bhauma Vraja with Krishna. Not this Vrindavan in India. No. It could be anywhere on, Bhauma means anywhere on the various planetary systems. Bhumandala is Bhauma. Anywhere on any of the planets, if Krishna has appeared, that person appears there with Krishna. And that is the last sort of in the material sphere, you may say, existence before moving on to become Nitya in Goloka. This is what, who is saying this? Not Kartik Chandra Das. Who is saying this? Come on, who's saying this?
Chandelier.
Chandelier Rishi is saying this. To whom he is saying?
Vajranam.
Vajranarayan.
Vajrana.
Vajranarayan.
In response to what?
to
In
the
response to
question on
Bhaktinath's
why
question,
is the
what was his
kingdom is.
question?
Why is it empty?
Why is Mathura empty? Because this person, in this category, you can put the Devatas also. They went back to their demigod planets. Those who are in this category, the Munijanya gopis, the Rishijanya gopis, there may be some gopas, so many others who are in this category. They all went back to the spiritual world to enter that category. And this category disappeared. So nobody here, nobody here, nobody here. So Mathura is empty. But in the process of explaining this, he has made it so clear and beautiful how the transition to the spiritual world happens. Okay, we'll take some questions. Tripat.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada said in one purport, as we get perfected in this life, so next life we go to other planets, as you said, where is Krishna performing pastimes, and then we see Krishna first time face to face. So my question in that regard is that means that we were never face to face with Krishna ever in the past. And second one is the Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadev. As far as my understanding goes, they are 5 Indras from the previous lives, and they came to Krishna Lila. Are they Nitya Siddhas, or they are one of this group which you mentioned now?
Excellent questions. So as far as the Pandavas are concerned, all of them, and I think I'll bundle them as one group. Pandavas specifically, they are all Nitya Siddhas. Now there is one section in Gaudiya Sampradaya that does not accept them as Nitya Siddha. But if you read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's works, we get the idea that they are Nitya Siddhas. As far as, because we see Krishna for the first time here, we never saw him before. I mean, that question can be answered in many layers. And it also is connected to the question, did we ever fall down from the spiritual world? It's a sensitive question because there is a official sort of understanding that is that we were with the Lord and we have appeared because of turning our face away from the Lord. So in that sense, we have had the association of the Lord, but we turned away from him, and as a result, we've appeared here. And then when we go back, we resume the same position that we originally eternally had. And that is the understanding that is acceptable understanding. Of course, there are others who say other things, but this is what I'm prepared to say this particular session. So, and there are some evidences to that in Gopala Champu by Jiva Goswami, etc., where there are mentions like, for example, a new Gopa appears or is born, and it says that also one of the Gaudiya Acharyas, Prabhupada's time, from the Gaudiya Math, he said that there are eternal personalities existing, us as eternally existing in the spiritual world in the form of what might be considered like statues who are frozen and are not active. And when we return there, we take those forms again and actively engage in our service with Krishna. So these different layers are there. But anyway, I gave you the most sort of acceptable response. But your first point is even more valid. I mean, whether we saw Krishna before or not, the more important thing is we want to see Krishna. Whether if a millionaire, I mean, it's easy to understand. If a millionaire lost all his money and became a poor man, or he was always a poor man, he was never a millionaire. Take either of the case. He was a millionaire and became poor, or he was always poor. In either case, the important fact of life is that if he was a millionaire and then became a poor man, he wants to become a millionaire again. And even if he was never a millionaire and he's a poor man, he wants to become a millionaire. So whether we were with Krishna, whether we weren't with Krishna, of course, it'll be good to understand that, but it will not change our goal. It will not change our tact, our process of what we want to achieve, which is to achieve the eternal service of the Lord. That no Acharya will conflict. No Acharya will say anything against that. Does that make sense, Sripad Prabhu?
Thank you, Rao. Perfectly okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We had, before we had Raghav Chandra Prabhu. Yes. No, I think Janu Kanya Mataji, you were first, and then Raghav Chandra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu, I'm a little confused about when you learn some, like, say, for instance, if you developed it in a way and you don't have experience, you're not able to become that person. So I'm just thinking about, we're told often, if you drink the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam, you will reap the benefit, which is very blissful, and it's just as good as experiencing your practical sense of doing things. So yeah, and I'm just wondering, what there was a feeling that you can experience your life here by doing good, yes, and it could be blissful and drink the nectar, as they say. And maybe in a way you're living your in a way, instead of waiting to be reborn to that profession or that level of goodness by going to Goloka, you can experience it here. And also I hear people say, if you go to, you don't have to go to the Dham to experience the Dham. So you can create your world here as a Dham, and so you can create your happiness here as well. Does it make sense? My question is quite...
It does make sense. I mean, essentially what you're saying is we're good here as long as we are good. As long as we are good, we are good here.
Yes, we reap the benefit, yes.
Yeah. So as long as we are good here. How we are here, we are good. I think it's a very new agey kind of way of thinking, where people have this very butterfly spirituality, where everything is very joyous and soft, and it's like a little reminiscence of the hippie kind of a culture, to think like everything is fine as long as I dance in the kirtan and I'm enjoying the prasadam. I'm already in the spiritual world. I don't need to care about Goloka, and I don't need to care about going to Vrindavan, which is all the way in India. I can always just find the bliss here, and it's a matter of only consciousness. So here is the point. It's both. One has to. So I will base my response on the Shastra and Shastra only, and on Prabhupada and on the Acharya's commentaries. One has to certainly lead a life of devotion, regardless of where we are. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani, Bhagavatam says. Tirtha, the holy place, is where the tirthis are, where the devotees are who make the place holy. It's not like you go to some pond and just because it has a title, such and such kunda or such and such sarovar, it has become holy. No, it's because great souls resided there. Great pastimes were performed there. that makes it holy. And that holiness of that place, Srila Prabhupada stayed at the manor. The manor is a holy place. Soho Street, Prabhupada visited the very last place he visited outside of India before leaving his mortal body and his manifest pastimes was London. If you go to Soho Street, you see Srila Prabhupada, pay attention. And I think Krishna consciousness is all about paying attention, being conscious. Pay attention to the little sort of seal or placard or whatever you might call it at the bottom of Srila Prabhupada's murti. It says, Srila Prabhupada came to celebrate Janmashtami with Sri Sri Radha Landaneshwar in 1977, September, before going back to India to finish his manifest pastimes. Now, that means Landaneshwar is a holy place. In fact, in the purports of the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's already mentioned that all the temples are non-different from holy places. Why? Because the deities are there. That's a very narrow thinking. The reality is not because the deities are there, not alone, not alone. The reality is, well, that could be part of the reality, but the reality is Srila Prabhupada personally visited these places. And he was a tirthi. So he made the place a tirtha. So yes, in that sense, we could say, well, I am happy to be at the manor. But when circumstances allow, our desire should always be to visit those places where the Lord personally manifested himself. And these are directly mentioned as an instruction in Upadeshamrita by Srila Rupa Goswami. So it's not, you see, the fault is there that we try to make it one or the other. That's not the philosophical or the practical point. It has to be both. When outside of Vrindavan, we carry the Vrindavan consciousness. When in Vrindavan, we live the Vrindavan consciousness. And when we leave, we carry the consciousness with us. So it's both. And so I do not see how we can find support for someone who's saying, you don't have to worry about going back to Godhead. Just, if you're just enjoying here, then you can experience the same bliss here. So we don't need to even think about it. And if it's spoken in a casual way, I disagree. If it's spoken in a mature way, where the idea is that all I care is to serve the Lord, here or in hell or in any place. That's a very mature sort of, that's like Yudhishthira Maharaj. He said, I will serve Krishna in hell. Send me to hell. That consciousness of somebody has, that pure consciousness, who could fault it? But for you and me, I'm talking about you and me. If I just say casually, oh, I don't need to go to Vrindavan because for me, my home is Vrindavan. My little room is Vrindavan. My little desk is Vrindavan. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, I told you what my perspective is, and if someone has a different perspective, then that's fine. I will stick to what Srila Prabhupada has said, and the Goswamis have given us, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and what I've heard and learned from my own spiritual master and from Srila Prabhupada. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, I think I understand this. It has to be both, not just you have to do good performance here as well as, and you can still enjoy it and mix good association and do service to the Lord, and that will help you to enjoy, and you also, have a journey to get to Goloka. Thank you, Haribol.
Okay, one last question, and then we'll pay our obeisances to everyone and close the call. Yes, Prabhu. Dharmendra Prabhu, I think Raghav Chandra Prabhu already had his hand up. Is it okay I take him instead of you?
Yeah.
I'll answer your question next time. Yes, Raghav Chandra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, just a very quick question about the current Vrajavasis or anyone who was born in Vraja after Krishna had
Yes.
left the Bhama Vrindavan.
What is the question?
Which category do they belong to? And how are they supposed to?
The category they belong to is close to the Siddha category, but a sadhaka. They are still a sadhaka. They have been given a special opportunity. For example, anyone born in Braj, anyone who dies in Braj, anyone who has done Upanayanam Samskar in Braj is considered to be a Brajvasi. Anyone who stays in Braj for 12 years or more without leaving Braj for more than 27 days in a year is a Brajvasi. Not anyone who has a property in Braj, that person is not a Brajvasi. So there are specific definitions, just like with the UK government. If you live in this country more than 180 days a year for 5 years continuously, then you can apply for your permanent residency. That's a UK law, immigration law. Similarly, there are laws which qualifies you to become Brajvasi. However, there is one in Bhakti Ratnakara. It is said, quoting Adi Varaha Puran, that one who always misses Vrindavan, misses Braj, is also a Brajvasi, he says. There's evidence, scriptural evidence to say one who's always thinking of Braj, always missing Braj is also a Brajvasi. Now, what about the Brajvasis? The question that you're asking is Brajvasis who are born in Braj. What about them? They are simply fortunate to be born in a place which is already full of Krishna's pastimes. So they have the highest opportunity to become fully realized. Tallipsu. So imagine somebody climbing a lift to a 100-story building like the Empire State Building. And you and I are starting from floor 1 or floor 5 or 7 or 10. And these lot, they are starting from floor number 95. So they are on an accelerated path. And yet, if they do not make good use of it, they will be reborn. But here's the nice thing. Because they are born in Braj, they'll be reborn in Braj. So again, they'll have an opportunity. Whereas us, here's the bad thing. You and I, if we misuse our independence and we've reached the 15th floor or the 55th floor of the 100-story building, we misuse our independence, we could be back on floor number 0 or floor number 3. But the Brajvasis who were born there and die there, they will again come on floor number 95. So they have this very special, that's why they are worshipable. But at the same time, if you see a Brajvasi who is smoking bidi, chewing tobacco, and speaking abusive words, and behaving in a not so nice manner, you should respect them because they are on floor number 95 while you're trying to get there. But at the same time, you should not associate with them. So you should discriminate between respect and associating. Because if you associate, you also start drinking bidi and chewing tobacco, you will go down from your 55th floor to 0. That guy is going to come back as 95. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yes, true. Thank you. Thank you
So they will remain respectable, worshipable, depending on who they are, how they are. You will never want to offend them for sure. But at the same time, you wouldn't want to associate closely with them if they are not helping you progress in your bhakti. So association is always through discrimination. Yeah. And in that sense, they will go to Krishna eventually. It's only a matter of time. Even a Muslim who is a beefeater, born in Braj Mandal, is more special, may not be more advanced in one sense, but more special than me and you. I think this reconciles what you probably had in mind, right? It makes sense. Okay.
Yes,
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying all through the session. Sorry we went over by a few minutes. Hopefully it's been a worthwhile session. Please do reflect on what we've spoken. And if you have any questions, you could come back next time. Next time we will see how the solution that Shandilya Rishi gives to Vajrana, now that he's told him why there is nobody, now he's going to give him a solution of how to get the whole kingdom populated, repopulated again. And then he's going to talk about how to find Krishna in Kali Yuga. And there he's going to give practical examples to the queens of Dwarka. And we shall see all of that next class. Look forward to seeing you all. Thank you very much for coming. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Vishnu Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Kartik Chandra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.